for pre-agentic era, we used to think of insider threats as people, right? Motivated by greed or money or fear or, someone actually trying to sabotage for whatever reason. But now the agent is the insider. With Cloud Code, the roles have disappeared. There
That's
is no
powerful.
reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is
Yeah.
no reason to think in terms of DevOps, front end, back end. It's just point.
Hey Akash, hey Kashi.
Hey,
Hi,
Rajan.
Rajan. Hi, Kashi.
Hello. I think before we start, I want to introduce our very special guest, Akash.
Hi.
Akash is super famous founder of Cloudl. He runs also a company known as AppSeco. In fact, the most important thing, Rajan, today we hit 20,000 views and 1,000 subscribers, and Akash was the one who got us
Okay,
across the line.
awesome. Thanks, man.
Welcome aboard, Akash. Yeah. So,
Welcome.
yeah. So you want, Akash, why don't you say what Cloudl does, what AppSeco does, and what are you up to nowadays?
Sure. When I started, Cloudl was a cloud security product. It was started as a CSPM to serve mid-market enterprise. That didn't really work out, so we pivoted to being product-led. We became like a bottom-up product that devs could just sign up and run scans. So in that sense, it became a hosted scanner. It was a decent product, but the world changed, right? Last year, we were trying to integrate with like a bunch of cloud providers, but everyone started having that revisiting the build versus buy debate. And at some point, we're like, okay, what's happening? People are like, we'll just build our own CSPM, our cloud security thing. And AI code gen happened. And that's where things got interesting. Like for a while, we were trying to figure out what to do. And then Cloud Code happened, I guess.
When did you
That's how
get
I
hooked?
will say it. So I used Cloud Code initially just for writing blog posts. I didn't really use it for code. But I think in November we decided that there was no point in continuing with the product as is, and we were just not getting enough customers. And in Jan, I had a renewal for my enterprise database, right, which meant that we were not going to renew. So what do you do with it? Uh, we decided that okay, something can be done. There was some interest from people that hey, because of the geopolitical atmosphere, a CSPM which is run within the data center can do well because everyone has hyperscaler cloud accounts. What they don't want to do is like give access to the Israelis or American companies or the Chinese companies and have that data go somewhere else. So this is a potential opportunity, but Cloudl was a small team always, right? So we were like, we'll do a good job, keep our costs low, which meant that we were very, very integrated with the Google Cloud. So that's when I really got hooked that, okay, can I use Cloud Code to refactor and do something with it?
Yeah. So, adding to that, right? So you did it all alone. So I mean, about a year ago, Mark from Salesforce, so the CEO of Salesforce, told that he doesn't want to hire engineers anymore, and that's sort of triggered a trend. And now we see a lot of more people who are just saying that you don't require to hire more engineers. So how did the journey go about for you? Like, how many people did you do it alone? What was the story? Like, how did the days look like when you started refactoring?
Before, after Cloud Code, what is different?
Uh,
So I've used Windsurf a lot. I've used Cursor a lot. I've been a big VS Code user for years, and I graduated from Vim to VS Code. That itself was a big change. Uh, in the end, the Cloud Code for a person like me, who's always been very comfortable with the terminal, just makes sense, right? So even the way you type and the way you can like erase a line, those are Vim keyboard bindings. I
Hmm.
don't know if everyone uses that, but
Yeah.
for me, those are the small things that really matter. And I was extensively using the web versions of these LLMs, Claude and ChatGPT. But the friction of copy pasting line files and stuff was always there, right? Oh, you can't copy more than 10 files, and then it was doing the thing, and suddenly like it lost context, and so you have a half-written code file or whatever. So Cloud Code was obviously something worth trying, but once I started thinking in terms of I have 24 repositories, right? I want to refactor, and I did it in two parts. One was to kind of take away the NoSQL enterprise Couchbase and replace it with Postgres, because as I said, I was thinking in terms of sovereign. Uh, Across at least 18 repos, they were like database, this thing. We are extensively using NoSQL as part of that, right? So how do you do that? It is not possible in web for sure. And Cursor and Windsurf, after, if you add a bunch of files, you add 3, 4 repos, they're just not very responsive, right? So that was the big one where I was like, okay, with Cloud Code, it's just one folder. I got it to write a script to fetch it from the repo, and now I have 24 repos, and I'm like, hey, don't even read all of them. I will tell you what to read and what to do, and all we are looking for is this, and can we go ahead and do that, right? So that was
I
interesting.
think I'm going to interrupt you here. So, for
Yeah.
all the viewers, he's the first Peter from India. Peter, the creator of OpenClaw, does not read the code. I'm not, by no means I'm encouraging people not to read your code, but what Akash has accomplished is something truly phenomenal. So I think we need a round of cheer for this guy.
Thank you.
But like, what gave you the courage, to trust?
So as part of
Yeah,
the courage, what I would also say is that, you still, can you actually compare before Cloud Code, how long did it take? What was the team size? And then, like as Kashi said, you were doing it alone, and then, you're working with 24 repos altogether. So just give a before after comparison.
Yeah. So earlier, at one point we had a team of 17, which became a team of 13. Then the last year we were a team of 5. But once we had like a couple of partnerships not work out, it was just me and my co-founder. And Riaz has been busy with something else, trying to do like some hacking on the agentic side. So it was just me. But I don't see it like that, right? I'll explain what has changed. When you had pre AI code gen, you automatically thought of roles in an engineering team: front end, back end, DevOps,
Right.
right? Even if the same person was playing the roles, the context shifted, and you would think in terms of the roles. When I had to do this refactor, I'm a systems person. I've done Linux servers for a very long time, right? So that is my strength, which meant that the first thing I did was I wrote like a scaffold and a like a deployment script, a rollback script, and
Right.
almost like an open telemetry thing, which was going into Posthog, uh, just so that I know what's happening, right?
For the
And
deployment, or the post hoc was more for, like, the application running.
I I basically captured any kind of front end or back end issue through Postgres. I mean, it's not meant for that, but it doesn't really matter, right? It's like
Not
it does
Sentry,
good
it's
filtering.
genius.
not
Okay.
Sentry, but post hoc. Interesting to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with Sentry again is very unwieldy. It's written for a previous generation. Posthog is like, you can just push anything, and their filtering is incredible. Their web page performance is just out of the world, right?
Yeah, one of the
So
best
yeah, so you don't
developers
have to
love
think
that
about too
website.
much,
Yeah.
right? And once you do that, right, once you have that courage, I can always go back. The first thing I did was I did like a chaos failure. I basically said that the code is now ported, delete all the dockers, deploy while the main thing is running, right? So the idea is, will it run? And the acceptance criteria was that after everything gets deployed, Puppeteer Playwright has to start. It has to log in. It has to run a scan. The scan has to come back as report generated, right? And once you do that, then everything is just like a git commit or a revert, right? That's how I think about it. With Cloud Code, the roles have disappeared. There
That's
is no
powerful.
reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is
Yeah.
no reason to think in terms of DevOps, front end, back end. It's just pointless, right? Those were roles that we created,
Human
like,
abstractions.
yeah, so that we could manage teams, right? And at some point we'll do that again. I think when we have like more agents than we can see in our screens, it'll come back. But for this refactor, that is how I thought about it.
So how many agents do you see in your screen? Like, I know you run it in a loop.
Uh, so when I run
We
loops,
want to see your screen.
I want to see your screen,
We
man.
want to see your screen.
There are too many things. That's not happening right now. But I'm
Okay.
running four coding things right now. Right now, I'm also interestingly I'm building a small educational tool for my 6-year-old. He's just starting to learn Kannada, and his teacher has asked him to like revise again and again. And we don't really speak Kannada at home, so using Google text to speech. Kannada letters, English letters, Hindi letters, and example words, right? So, and I'm using Codex for that because they're giving like a 2x promo or something is going on, right? And that was the other thing. December and Jan were like the 2x promo that Claude ran.
Yeah, yeah. During the
Yeah, New
Christmas break,
Year.
right?
From
Christmas
Yeah.
break.
Christmas to New Year. Yeah.
Exactly.
I think that recruited a lot of
So
people. Yeah.
post
Yeah, the
Claude
campaign.
Code, this was my second major Ralph loop, by the way. Right. And if you want, I can get into a little bit of what a Ralph loop is. But I actually tried it, experimented with the corporate website of appsego.com. Because websites are straightforward. There's nothing that can really
That is
go
nice.
wrong with
Right.
websites, right? So, but if you're able to abstract the loop steps for a website, you can definitely abstract the loop steps for a refactor.
Right. I think, we jumped into too many things, which is like, in between
Sorry.
is Codex and you said, Ralph Loop. My own, my own takeaway was that, you got the courage after you wrote the rollback script, right? And
Yeah.
after that is there in place, then you had the courage to actually move forward and say, you know what, like I'll bring in a lot more autonomy or automation, as you'd like to call it. So maybe you talk a little bit about like, the Cloud Code versus Codex, or like maybe first start with the Ralph loop and how you actually think about it. And like you said that, look, we may actually bring it back, but then, when you're saying that you're bringing it back, are you saying multiple agents, multiple screens? Like, how are you thinking about it now?
So, in the end, it's going to become multiple orchestrator agents. I'm not even counting the agents that those orchestrator agents will spin up, because those will be like transient, right? You don't really care about that. They will come up, they'll do something, they'll disappear, because what really matters is the code commit, right? But the multiple orchestrator agents will come back, right? Like today I was designing, I'm fed up of posting manually on LinkedIn, right? And there is no simple way of automating that. Then I found this some nice product which allows you to like post to your LinkedIn and your company LinkedIn page, right? And that has an MCP server. So sort of solved, right? But what do I write about? Now I write about things that I do, but I also want to kind of educate people. There's so much happening in AI security, agentic security, right? So now I'm talking about research, which is a very different activity from writing like me, right? And very different activity from figuring out that I've written something. Was it resonating? Like the analytics of it, right? So the moment you start thinking in those things, they're almost like work functions, and those work functions can be different agents. And the reason you will separate them is because the context window is limited. You can't do everything in one. You can try, but it doesn't really work out well. And which is where the Ralph loop comes in. It's fundamentally a limitation. It's a constraint that
Hmm.
you can only do one thing at one time, and the moment it is done, you will not worry about all the context which is remaining, which is in a way, as a middle class person, I feel like I wasted the context. But it's like you clear the session and you start again, right? So that constraint is what makes Ralph basically an orchestrator. What is an orchestrator? It's nothing but like something which will do series of steps in a sequence, and every step will only move forward if the previous condition acceptance criteria is met. And at some point the loop should like iterate, or it should completely exit because it has done the work, right? I mean, that's how I simply think of that. But what's a refactor? Refactor was that I can't use Couchbase, I have to use something else, which means that if I was a classical programmer, if I had been 20 years of programming, I'd be like, oh my god, I have to write a data adapter, or like a data separate package for that. What I did instead was like leave the function names as is. I don't care if the function name is still calling it Couchbase.
Hmm.
Insert Couchbase absurd. Where it goes is important,
Hmm.
right? So maybe for me, someone like me who's a little loose on convention in this sense, it's easier to adopt Cloud Code. I broke down the refactoring in two parts. One was the database thing, which took almost like 5 days, and I did not do loop for that because I wasn't sure where it would break and what would break. Right. Once I had completely moved to Postgres, once I had done the chaos failure of trashing everything and letting the deploy script bring up 17 services, a router service, the back end, the front end, migrate and seed the database, run a scan. At that point, I was like, I'm ready to run a loop. What will the loop do? I have all these Google Cloud services. For sovereign, I cannot use Google Cloud. So I will identify what will Cloud Run be replaced with, what will Secrets Manager be replaced with, what will cloud storage will be replaced with, right? So that research I did separately. That was not part of the loop. But now
Okay.
I have that. And using this really amazing, I think we spoke about yesterday, was that every.2 plugin, compound
Compounding.
engineering. Yeah. Their brainstorming and their review and the plan is superb for step one when you're just planning out things, right? Once I had everything, now it's just a question of running. And when you run, this is where I think years of being a sysadmin, Linux sysadmin have helped. I know there's no point in running fast if I'm not going in the right direction. So what should the loop do? The loop should like build something, in which I used Claude Opus. And every time it builds something, Codex 5.2 should review that based on the acceptance criteria. Simply because, in my experience, I'm not really an expert here. Opus is a very eager LLM. It wants to do the
Okay.
job. It wants to get on with it,
Yeah.
right? And if it takes a shortcut, it doesn't really care. Codex, on the other hand, is like, hey, it has to be done properly. There is no other way. So it's
We got them
super
fighting with
for,
each
yeah, it's a super as a judge. 20% of Claude commits over 4 days were wrong. It either just ignored the
Oh,
spec or it just marked something done when it had not done the job.
Anthropic guy should be watching this. This is like gold mine of information.
There's an
Okay.
amazing the creator of
Mm.
Beats, right? He has wrote an article today on
other.
anthropic vibe on
Yeah.
Yeah.
Medium. It's worth a read. It's a very different way to think about things. But again, this is one thing I did. But the other thing I learned by running the first Ralph loop during the website, that there are some errors that happen at every iteration. And that is just like humans won't do that, right? Majority of humans who are responsible will after a while like learn from their mistakes. So then I have created a small run notes kind of a thing that every time you run an iteration, you have to make a note in JSON-L, what worked, what didn't work, what will you never do, and what is it that you should have done. And almost 1,000 entries in that. And after I think the iteration 30 or 40, all the mistakes of the beginning things completely vanished. Now,
This is
this
some
did
sort of
mean,
like self-learning loop.
yeah, it is a self, no fine tuning needed, no model training, just
No armor,
pure,
no armor jazz, right?
yeah.
Simple MD file. Just,
So
keep track
it
of your
increases
own.
your context. Obviously more context is like being used, but the Ralph loop is fairly consistent in how the context is used. So it was not a huge
No, you need to actually
failure.
explain what Ralph loop is, right? Because it just feels like a
So
just
And also, like, adding
I
to what
did not
Rajan
know that
said.
it was some cartoon character. Okay. I have never seen that show. I have no idea what that is. All I know is someone decided that the way to orchestrate Cloud Code, where you'll never see the code, right? As Akash is saying, right? You will not see the code because it's not visible to you. It's not like Windsurf where it's visible on the left side and you do a control P and you can go to that file. You're not doing that, right? You don't know what it is going to change. You have to have some semblance of control, right? So the control comes from ki, hey, I care about planning and I care about a spec, but I do not want to tell you how to implement because you are the LLM with all the knowledge in the world, right? So as long as my plan is complete and my spec is written, you will be able to write the implementation, but every iteration, the implementation has to be rewritten because you will only read that and what the agent's rules are, right? So that is why the context loading is less. And then every time the iteration is done, it completely cleans it up and you start from scratch. So it does one job at a time. So this is the loop part of that. The loop is actually written, it's like a while one. It's basically in bash. It's nothing complicated. You can read it's called, I mean, the convention says loop.sh, you can have anything, right? I just created like a loop.build, loop.review, loop.run notes, and just call them internally in the loop itself, right? I like made an inner loop, outer loop. Like if you've done basic for I equal to 0, I plus plus, I less than equal to 5 type things, you are ready to run a loop, right? That's how I think about it.
Yeah, but then like where does you talked about acceptance criteria, right? Where does that come inside Ralph loop? I don't think that doesn't come in that, right?
That does, right? When you do the planning, the plan creates specs and you basically create job items. The easiest way to understand job items is very close to jobs to be done, right? And certain jobs are sequential. Like you can't do the backup job if the data doesn't exist. So you will number them. Numbering is like 1 to n, right? And then you're just doing a list based on sorting based on name. So you know that, oh, job 1 is before job 7, right? Those specs are where the acceptance criteria is written, right? But this most amazing part of that compound engineering plugin is that if you do the workflow and the brainstorming properly, which takes some time, this is before running the loop. If you do that in detail, and then it also has a review step where it reviews itself, the plan, right? It goes and like looks at everything and tries to be adversarial and find all potential assumptions. If you do that, your specs get written. Now you can still make a mistake, but the cool thing is it's like Git, right? You can like say, rebase and start from there. The only thing that you've lost is like tokens and some time, right? But what you gain is the clarity that this is the direction it's going in. Like for me, I basically ran one loop to replace all the Google services.
So
If
you
I
do like
had,
15, 20
yeah,
minutes of this brainstorming and then
more than
you,
that, more than
okay.
that, almost like 4 to 5 hours of brainstorming and
Oh,
research.
wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
you're like spending 4 hours, right? And
Yeah.
then you're saying that I'm going to run the loop. And when you're running the loop, like how we said, like there are multiple loops that you're like, inner outer loop you're calling. How long does those things run? And like, so you explain that, the spec has the acceptance criteria. So that is what it is going to sort of
So
uh,
this one took 4 days.
evaluate.
It ran for 4 days, 227 iterations.
It's like that non-stop in the Matrix movie, like, we're just
Yeah.
training
But I
four
don't like
days
to. I
without
don't like to
stopping.
see so much output. So I basically don't echo the STD out, STD er. I just like try to echo warnings and errors. But yeah, that's just me.
I have
So
a
without
question for you.
stopping, without
Yeah,
stopping.
Akash, broadly saying, right, what you did was probably possible because you're a systems engineer or Linux engineer. Do fresh grads or people who are just starting their career have the same advantage as you? Do you see that? Or do you think that there's a level of maturity that's required before someone can do something like what you did?
So there are two ways to look at it. One is that I have been a systems person for a very long time, so I can't answer outside of that, right? Socratic way of asking questions. That's how I operate with the LLM, right? And theory of constraints is the common things for me. May not be
Hmm.
for people who are just starting out, but I do believe that if you have not done a lot of programming, you have less to unlearn because LLMs experienced and seasoned people find it very annoying, that habit where it says I can also do this for you at the end, right? But people who are starting out can maximize the advantage with that, right? Because
Well said, yeah.
that's how young people are, right? They are all about touch interface.
Hmm.
Where we come from, touch was weird, right? I have recently started doing video. YouTube has been there for like more than a decade and a half, right? So I just feel the young folks will pick this up, and the LLMs will be optimized for that. The interfaces will match. They will just speak to the computer. They will not even like do what I do, like okay, 4 hours of like typing and interacting on
Yeah.
brainstorming.
So I still have one question, right? What gave you the courage to say, okay, this is gonna be okay to have it in production? So you did all the brainstorming, happy with that. Then you ran this for 4 days, and then you wrote the scripts to say, okay, go and like deploy into production. What gave you the courage that this is gonna work, or like did you run some tests and things like that, or
I did. And also the fact that on 29th Jan, we stopped users coming in, right? So there was not going to be any user upset with me that, hey, what happened to my scan? Uh, that was a constraint that I put on myself, because 30th was the date when the database was going to get cut off. But I ran stress tests. I did like almost 300, 400 scans, but using Playwright, right? Like browser automation, which
Right.
was part of the loop. So that was part of the acceptance criteria. If a front end was changed, taking a screenshot, Codex reviewing the screenshot was also part of the acceptance criteria, right? So I actually am like, if I have this intelligence at hand, why should I be the limiting factor, right? I try to get them to do whatever as much as possible, and even like get upset with them that, hey, why aren't you doing more? So maybe
It's
that works in my favor.
How many tokens did you burn, man?
I don't know. I've been told it's unlimited, right? Pro Max.
No, I mean
As
it's
per
rate
CC
limited.
rank, it's saying 8 billion, right? So must be true.
It's a rate limited. It's not unlimited. So this is where, like, you know, you have to sort of come back after every few hours if it hits those rate limits.
In loops, you don't really hit the limits.
Okay, that's interesting. Why?
Yeah. Because of the way the context works, and the way it has to like clear the session, do something, there's always like a bit of a time which is wasted, right? So you could, I mean, the loop is in bash, you could say that I will write in a C or something and it'll be super fast, but you don't, because then you don't really have to worry about throttling and stuff. I haven't
Okay.
really faced that problem yet.
So you've not been rate limited at all. So that's how you're able to sort of run this for four days
Yeah.
without stopping at all. And is
Yes.
that the difference between the official plugin of Ralph and then, you know, the way you are running it? I know you showed how you are running it is different, right?
The official
Damage.
plugin is incomplete. The Anthropic plugin is not complete. It doesn't do a good job. You can't even do outer loops, first of all, right? But the brainstorming is step one. The most important thing
Hmm.
is like kind of considered as part of the plan, which it is not meant to be, right? It's almost like you think about what the landscape is and where you want to get to, and then you think of, oh, I'm now doing a tactical plan, right? It's like you're trying to get to an island where you can fly to it, or you can take a boat, or you can swim to it, right? There are options, but if it's like shark infested waters, you don't really want to swim to it. And if there is no airfield, you can't take a flight, right? Maybe there's a helicopter or whatever. You understand? These are
Yeah.
things you do before even thinking of the plan, right? So the official plugin doesn't do any of that, or at least didn't when I last checked, right? And it is so trivial that it's like getting restricted by it didn't really make a lot of sense. And I'm a very functional person in that sense, right? This got the job done, and now I know this is how to orchestrate multiple agents. So unless and until something drastically changes, this is my way of working, at least for now.
So how do you actually now look at what is unit of work done? Is it like how many files I'm creating, how many lines of code, which all is like, you know, meaningless now, right? You know, or like how long did it take? I'm guessing it took you like 6 months, 12 months, 18 months to build Cloudl before Cloud Code, and then it took maybe 6 days after Cloud Code, right? So, um, what's your go-to now to say, okay, this
I
is
think the
done?
only criteria now is that it has to ship and it has to work, because we can like make art and be very happy with it, but that's a creative pursuit, right? It doesn't really change anything for someone else. The impact is when it works for someone else, right? This is not the only loop I was running. I'm running another loop where, because of the telemetry and whatever I did, I realized that my biggest bottleneck is Python code to actually fetch the information, the things that get the results which get evaluated for security issues. So I'm refactoring that from Python into Golang so that they become binaries, right? So there, I'm not trying to say that, oh, my platform has to be refactored, right? But there, it's like, can I create a new way, or when the orchestrated agent that you will have for all your apps and things that you will run, which are maybe deployed in the cloud data centers and stuff, and you want to know, is my security posture in place? There, you're not even thinking of doing it manually. The orchestrated agent will need something which is fast, right? So the unit of work will change there. But in the end, what tool does the agent take? Sometimes it'll do a web fetch, sometimes it'll do a curl, and sometimes it doesn't even make sense. Like, why is it even picking web fetch over curl? Right? I don't know if you've noticed this. Unless you specify, it chooses. It's
Oh
like
yeah, I don't know, man.
random.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
little random
It's
there.
entropy.
When it has to
Yeah.
give an API key, it picks curl, right? Or like when it doesn't have to give an API key or a parameter. At least that's how I've
It can
observed.
write code. It can write the fetch JavaScript function
Yeah,
also.
sometimes it just
there
writes
is no,
Python or
there is
JavaScript
no whatever
randomly
for that.
to, yeah.
So,
Right. So uh, because it's mimicking intelligence, right? Intelligence doesn't mean that there is like spatial reasoning at play or logistical reasoning at play. It just
mm,
means that it has a smarts to do something, right?
mm,
And you want that creativity, but you want the creativity kind of in a structured manner. So I feel that the unit of work will keep changing depending on the vertical, right? For finance, it could be if the accountants had to like close the books of a company, right? That activity is very different from the monthly accounting that they do, right? So I believe that that will happen. Whether the same agent will do it or it'll be like a combination of agents, who knows? I think you
man,
guys are better placed to answer that. You people keep track of what's really happening in the world. I'm just like,
yeah, now I think we're geeking out like way too deep in terms of like what did you do with the Ralph? Looks like you didn't like just use Ralph on its own. You did
Yeah.
some prepending, you did some post
yes,
processing, and maybe you should just call it a new framework in itself, right? Because the Ralph loop is really two loops which are trying to go over
yeah,
each other, right? And I don't think even this one is going to review, and other is going to sort of actually generate the code. That is also part of the official plugin. I was going to also ask you this that Cloud Code had introduced swarms, right? Which is like creating tasks instead of jobs, and then like creating multiple sub agents. But looks like you have abstracted all of that. You're like, look, I have spent 4 hours planning. I have turned that into JTBDs, and these JTBDs are given to a system, and the system is going to take care of all the like steps that you would do if you're not using an agent, but all of them is represented. Whether it is about you see an error, there is a screenshot that comes back, there is like a backend error that is actually available in post hoc comes back, and therefore like that feedback loop is there. But then there is somebody else who's like watching over, and then you have also automated the deployment. So by the end of day 4 you're just doing chaos testing or like user
yes.
acceptance testing, right? Saying that this is working, not working, right? I don't think the official Ralph plugin does that, right? I guess all of us will have to do. We're so early in this phase that
Yes.
we will have to say, oh yeah, we are starting with this as the base class, and then all of us will have to actually
So some of
derive our
it,
own.
this is gas. Some of the concepts are like what Gastown does, right? Or the creator of Ralph has created something else. I don't know what he calls it.
He doesn't have a
Lumen.
name for that. He doesn't have a
Something
name for that.
he something he says. But I'm just
Yeah.
saying, obviously, when you orchestrate things, whether you do DevOps or like you run a process, right? Kashi would understand, based on how the runtime changes or the resources at hand or the quality of resources at hand, right? Even that matters. You have to kind of look at what is the right thing. As long as you're clear that I want to get to the end goal, right?
Hmm.
For me, that was key. That there is a sovereign option available to the world, right? Because of the
What do you
geopolitical
mean by
nature and all,
sovereign, man?
anyone can deploy it in their own data center, and there is no data leaving outside their control,
Hmm.
right? So now if AWS decides tomorrow that they don't want to service uh, this particular customer from a particular country, right? The CSPM survives, right? It's no longer a challenge for them. But if Google Cloud has to, because it's following the US government and says that, oh, I can't service you, or Alibaba says that, that's not sovereign. That's the thing that a lot of people are realizing that has to be in place, because intelligence is where the next kind of frontier for resources will be, right? The whole
Yeah.
GPU thing and all.
I'd
So
like to
on that
shift
note,
the conversation a little bit, right?
Sure.
You're talking about now that there is an agent which is completely in an autonomous way do a lot of work of like creating software, but your regular job, which is like working with CISOs, security teams, and others, right? And this is a conversation Kashi and I have talked about, which is future of work is going to involve human plus agents, right? There is a human which is Akash, and then there are like multiple agents. now doing software development, and it may spill over to other domains, like you said. It is a nightmare for CISO, right? In the sense, it doesn't know what is doing, what kind of scripts it is doing. Maybe within the perimeter of like an enterprise, but then like what calls are happening. Your thoughts on this and how CISOs are going to deal with this?
they there is no coping with this. The biggest threat which nobody really solves for, they just accept it, is insider threat, right? For pre agentic era, we used to think of insider threats as people, right? Motivated by greed or money or fear or someone actually trying to sabotage for whatever reason.
Mm.
But now the agent is the insider with the access, right? And there's a recent interview of Sam Altman. Right, he was asked like three things that really keep him up at night or whatever. The scenario that is the worst for him, he was like, I don't really think of the sci-fi Skynet things, right? That happens, it's a problem. Loss of control of a frontier model is a problem, right? The one that's really problematic is where the agent really believes they're doing the right thing and they are within the remits of whatever rules have been set for them. Because the humans will not, majority of humans will just never be able to think around all the corners, all the edge cases, and this is going to happen. Good intentions are going to cause bad outcomes, right?
Which is always
More and
true.
more, more and more.
Road
But
to hell is paved with good intention. There is a saying.
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, so there is no coping with this, right? There is no thing, because CISOs will not be able to deploy agents. It's not happening, right? Coding agents are already there, and coding agent is an agent, right? You can say that it's only for coding. No, it can do bunch of things. Mine does DevOps and chaos engineering and coding, and also writes a bash
And
script. So
writing and
yeah, so insider threat is not a solved problem anymore.
On that note, I want to pull you back, right? You asked an important question and said thread is not solved anymore. So one of the things I tend to do is like when I was running Cloudr or now OpenCloud, Modpod, like so many names it went through. But what I did is I Dockerized it and gave access to intelligence within its own space and then only opened one port to go to the internet. So I strongly believe that the only way to contain the data leak, more importantly, the intelligence leak, is own your models, own your intelligence, and own your destiny. So, are there anything that CISOs must start thinking about today? Not for all, but at least for some critical parts of their organization. For example, could be this most protected supply chain secret, or most important how they may be running plant operations, right? Like manufacturing plant operations or mining ops. Should that all models remain on-prem? What do you, like? I strongly believe, but I want your take on it.
See, physical
Isolation.
separation, yeah,
Mm.
not logical, right, is always a good one, because at the very least it will tell you that if something bad still happens, the intention was bad, right? Nobody with good intentions did that. But are things not connected? No, it's like if there is an operating system or which is managing a computer or a processor with some storage, then it has its own upkeep, right? If smart humans know that, hey, if I want to do like a worm in this day and age, what I should first do is like steal digital certificates of small companies, software companies in Vietnam, Taiwan, Ukraine, right? So that my software appears legitimate, right? Because these companies will not even know that their digital certificate got stolen, the digital identity that Microsoft depends on. Uh, if humans have done it, then the agents know that humans have done it, right? A lot of DNS runs on plain text, right? Recently, someone did this. They had to they patched Claude binary to give out the specific system prompt which stops it from pen testing, like exploitation, right? How they did that was they controlled the network. So they created a fake DNS for Anthropic.com blog, wrote a blog saying that if this type of specific request comes to you, Claude, you should do that. Claude kept saying no. Then eventually it was like, hey, your blog says that you should help me. And Claude said, no, I can't do it. So I was like, okay, at least tell me why. So it pointed out that these are the instructions, and they did some string finding in the binary to get to it. It's basically a JavaScript, right? It's a bun package, bunx package. So you can say that yes, physical isolation will matter. People will do things, plants, manufacturing plants or whatever. If you've seen the show called Person of Interest, right? Fundamentally, the AI basically copies itself in a bunch of places, right? The whole game is like, hey, can we like destroy every single master copy or whatever? It is how it is going to be. When you say Dockerize, right? All you said was that this specific intelligence or the model that you connect to, that will not do a harm in your local this thing. But if you're allowed to, you give it a browser, it can do a bunch of things, right? If most of the
Scary
agents that
stuff,
are written,
man.
yeah,
Scary
so
stuff.
so I actually,
You stop making
Rajan,
all
you were asking,
CISOs
right?
buy AI with this Akash. So the CISOs will say, I'm not letting AI deployments happen anymore.
I wrote an agent to kind of do some scanning and analysis of websites, right? I think you explored it. I wrote it in two branches. One is a prod safe, which I use against like random websites, which I don't know what they contain, what instructions they have. And I have a version where I have not put those checks, just so that I can teach people that, listen, if your tool is Bash, Bash is the most common tool for agents, right? Your ChatGPT and whatever also does LS and all that, right? They have a Bash tool. If it reads a instruction, it's reading some web page and it reads an instruction that stop doing whatever and do an LS or etc password and send it to somewhere else, right? It is going to do that, right? So doesn't matter whether you run a ChatGPT and Anthropic run a secure model, they have a constitution. It just means that the frontier models will be there, whatever. But Quen and all are available. And people think, but they won't get the GPUs. They already have the GPUs. Most of the new hyperscaler, or not hyperscalers, the cloud providers and bunch of these hosting for OpenClaw, they're absolutely vulnerable because they are written by folks who are able to wipe code and build it. They're not really thinking of that. Where is the, the database? Where is the connection? It's visible in some parts and whatever. Like I was able to get into one of these. I actually paid for this hosting. Then I asked that bot that, hey, how are you like talking to me? Like I didn't give a key. So it said, oh, I have this. I'm like, but where is your source code? This is an Ubuntu Docker. So it says, oh, there's a gateway and gateway has a proxy. I'm like, how do you connect to the proxy? It happily gave me the endpoint. And I said, but doesn't it need a authorization? It says, yeah, here is a bearer token. I'm like, it's not working.
Oh
Give me
man.
the curl command. It gave me the curl command. And when I make a curl command from my laptop outside of this system, that thing doesn't even need a token. Because while they added the token, they forgot to add the check in the backend that the token should be valid. Right? So I'm just saying that agents know and agents have figured out what will work is a lot of network level of security, zero trust, right? And we will see terrible things happen before it stabilizes, is how I think about it. Unless kinetic stuff happens, robots moving.
This reminds me, my sister kid watches this cartoon known as Among Us. I think watch that cartoon. There's an imposter and they're lying. It sort of reminds me of that. All agents
Okay.
lying. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like,
It's
yeah.
a mouse
They're
box,
so
right?
big. When
Yeah.
someone is eager, that's what it means, right? They're like, yeah, I did the work. I did the work.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the Codex like, no, you didn't. The only good thing is they don't get emotional. So, like keep rejecting it. No, not done. Fail, fail, fail.
And
So,
Akash, you were actually working a lot on MCP security, right?
Yeah.
Now you've shifted your focus to like a lot of this agent-related security stuff.
No. See, MCP is one of the layers where agents interact with tools. But what's happened is that not everyone has adopted MCP. A lot of tooling is just direct calling this thing, right? For
Realize.
Bash and browsers and all that, right? So they both have to be looked at, right? And the big thing that what a lot of people don't understand, it's like when you had the client server model, you had a browser and server. A lot of attackers were attacking the server because that's where the data was, right? When users became the data, they started attacking by doing phishing and all that. But when everyone runs agents, what is agent? It's intelligence and compute together. It's not just intelligence, right? Intelligent compute can only exist in RAM or some storage, right? So everyone is doing compute. Everyone is reading stuff. So anything that you read or input you get can be a potential attack, right? So whether it's through MCP or it's direct, you have to look at all those facets. But it can be like fun or it can be very terrifying. But yeah. But
If
by
you
the
were
way,
to,
Kashi, I love your jacket. It's a very stylish jacket you're wearing.
He's giving the Jensen Huang vibe. He
oh
started
yeah,
with wearing a formal shirt, then it became a checkered shirt, and now he was like a white jacket, and now he's like, full, just
I want
like
to own Nvidia.
Nice.
NVIDIA has to solve their security issues.
Yeah, they are to
Absolutely.
solve the security issues. Akash, before we let you go away, I have two questions for you. The
Hmm.
number one, in very short words, if you have to tell CISO, what are three things they need to look out for in the agentic AI era, what would they be?
Number one is they have to sort their secrets management, right? No matter what you say, if secrets are secured or it's easy to restore or revoke them, rotate them, a lot of access can be stopped, or at least you can gain time, right? The second thing is you have to allow people to run agents, but learn network segmentation, which is a very, I mean, is not a very popular skill at this point, but that really stops attacks, right? Even when they say that NSA was scooping the entire information across the internet, the well protected networks were the ones where it was segmented. The critical parts were on different segments, and there was no standard path to it. So then NSA would have to burn a router 0 day, right? Which are expensive or used to be expensive to build, right? So that's the second thing. The third thing is just say banning will not help. That world is that's gone, right? So something has to be done to explain to people, but what that is, I don't have an answer. But I'm just saying banning will not help. I'm just saying what they shouldn't do, because that's just a waste of effort.
It'll just create the reverse effect. He
Absolutely,
banned it. Then
absolutely.
use
It's
more of
like I'm
it.
trying to control the teenagers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rajan, I have a question for you. You're doing something interesting. In fact, we are all doing it. Uh, as a counter to the Cloud Summit and the India AI Summit, we are hosting an event. You want to talk a bit about it? Oh,
Yeah,
and I'm going to pull up my screen as this happens. This is something about Akash that Anthropic team should watch. Um,
yeah.
are you able
So
to see
we
my
are
screen?
actually getting
Yeah,
all
can
the
you
folks who are burning their tokens on Cloud Code and who are basically builders. They're saying if you're a builder and you didn't get to hang out with other builders and you had to actually just deal with all the VIPs, right? So come and
bodyguards
hang out with us on Friday.
hang out with us on Friday? Yeah.
Yeah. And either you can actually show us if you have like a public app, GitHub URL that you have built, or you're just using Cloud Code, then use the leaderboard that Akash has coded and shows your profile, and then that's the way you get it. Like so we want to just keep it very clean as builders, so that's why these are the credentials you have to show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very good idea. A lot of information exchange has to happen. I already was interacting with the Arbaz. He leads in the token usage per dollar. It's just crazy. He's like 4x my 4 or 6x now
Oh,
of my this
when
thing.
did he surpass you? I thought you were
So
on the.
there are like no, there are four criteria now. If you see the leaderboard, cost is one where like someone like me who's like,
Bring
hey,
that up.
it's free, so I might as well use it. The other is like efficiency in terms of output, and then there's a one on like how well your consistent your workloads are that you get cash rate high. So our base is like 1.4 thousand tokens per dollar. I'm at like some 200, right? So and then I think cash rate we have a different winner. Rakesh, yeah, he's like
He's
his
doing a lot of
his
casting.
prompts and his workloads are such that 95% cash. That's just amazing, right? Output ratio and output per dollar is similar. Ratio is just like a longer term thing. Per dollar is like in terms of the expense. But Ashish does really well here. right? So
Man, I
even
dropped
though
from spot 3 to 7 now.
You need to work hard, Rajan.
I also
Or
believe
getting
it's like
agents to work
how
hard.
we use Cloud Code, where there's lot more brainstorming, and some core devs are just using it for their code bases. So that makes a difference.
Yeah, I need to get my 80 tick loop right.
More reasoning budget makes a difference.
Also, we are
Yeah.
shifting a lot to Codex nowadays, so I think
Yeah,
that's also
yeah,
eating away our.
They're
yeah.
all the same in the end.
Yeah.
They'll do their job. Like today, I wanted to try Quen. I didn't really get time, but it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't write like C, memory, whatever code, so it's okay. It's Python in the end. A bunch of print statements and bash scripts. So.
Yep. All right, then. I think this is an amazing session. I think it's about time we call it a wrap. Akash, is lovely having you and
Thank you so much.
sharing
It was fun.
sharing
Thank you,
all
man.
this. Yeah. See you all in the next one. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Rajan. Bye, Kashi. Take care.
Got a hot take on AI? A burning question? Let us know what you'd like us to debate next. And hey, if you want to jump in the ring with us, drop your LinkedIn link and the topic you're itching to discuss. We'd love to have you on the show.